尊敬的战友们好啊！尊敬的战友们好！现在是正在开始的是我们的915的大直播。现在在我这个旁边坐着的是我们中国人最应该感激的几个人都在这里了。我们的史蒂夫·班农先生是他让共产党闻风丧胆，是他开启了我们新中国联邦这个正式的宣言。同时，大家也都知道，我们坐在旁边的当时在白宫的。也是最了解中国的就是皮特·纳瓦罗先生，他让所有的中共闻风丧胆提到皮特·纳瓦罗的名字他都害怕。然后旁边是我们盖特的 CEO， 也是在给川普总统工作的我们的杰森米勒盖特的 CEO。现在我们以热烈的掌声来欢迎这3位我们中国人的恩人。来，你翻译一下吧，来。
My supporters, thank you very much for joining us in September 15th, our broadcasting today. And together with me today in the broadcast, we have Mr. Steve Bannon, who is the person who most feared by the CCP, who also one of the founders of the new federal state of China, together with us, and Mr. Peter Navarro. He is also another person who is most feared by the CCP, who is also the CEO of GETTR. And so we are very grateful for them for joining us, 3 of the guests today.
我必须要说的事情这个班农先生是新中国联邦的宣言人和创始人他是有正式的我们新中国联邦的这个职务的，我们终身要感激的人。皮特·纳瓦罗先生今天正式的成为了我们新中国联邦的大使和我们的盖特的形象大使未来全面的、全力的、全时间的来帮助盖特推倒推特维护社交媒体的公平和正义。那么另外一个现在就是我们的 CEO 杰森米勒先生，是我们整个盖特 CEO。可以说这3位先生是我们中国人推倒 CCP 的希望，是我们中国人的恩人。
China, and also one of the founders of New Federal State of China. And Mr. Peter Navarro has joined the New Federal State of China and who became the ambassador of this organization. And he is also the image ambassador of GETTR as well. And together, he is going to be working full-time, helping us to take down Twitter and to maintain the just and fairness of social media platform. And Jason, also the CEO of GETTR. So 3 of us, 3 of them are going to be working together to take down the CCP with the new federal state of China.
大家看到屏幕上，此时此刻滚动的字幕都是50个的这个 IP 进来。在刚才30分钟以前，我接到消息，已经有4万多个 IP 已经在国内发生了。也就是说，现在大概有5000万大陆的同胞们正在看这场这个旷世的直播。接下来会有很多战友加入连线，来有一些问题来请教我们这3位先生。接下来我把话筒会交下去，请战友们把连线给连进来。请大家首先问班农先生的问题和问皮特·纳瓦罗先生问题，问杰森·米勒先生的问题。现在咱们开始。感谢大家的参与，看看这个屏幕上，现在最起码都超过5000万的国内的观众在看着，谢谢。
And at the moment, we see that there are 40,000 IPs on screen, and that is to say that we have around 50 million of the viewers in mainland China already joining us and viewing our broadcasting. And so I congratulate our broadcasting, and then also that I would invite the viewers to send in their questions. And first to Mr. Bannon, and then Mr. Jason and Mr. Navarro.
现在请连线接进来吧。You look at this, the follow every IPN behind maybe 1.2 million, 1.4 million.
Because of the VPNs.
Yeah, VPN. But look at this. This is the big number, big data. Okay, this is from 介绍一下，请各位介绍一下自己 ，Richard、娜娜酱还介绍一下自己
Hi, Mr. Navarro, Mr. Bannon,
Happy to see you.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Rachel. It's a great honor to be here with you on the live stream, and you guys are my heroes. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yes,
Rachel.
ma'am.
Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Mr. Bannon, Mr. Navarro, Mr. Jason Miller, and also Pastor. Very honored to be in this studio. After this episode, I will immediately call my mom to thank her for her giving me the right time of my birth, so that today I can sit here together with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank your mother.
谁想问？请问吧，问问题。
Okay, so Mr. Bannon, I have one question for you. With the side effects of the vaccine are slowly showing up everywhere, and it's affecting all kinds of aspects of people's lives. What do you think the post-COVID vaccine world would be like?
Well, I think it's going to, we since the CCP put this virus out through Wuhan to the entire world, as Miles told us, almost 2 years ago, in January of 2020, I think that the world's been searching for a solution, right? And they haven't looked at a solution to get to the bottom of what happened in the Wuhan lab. And so I don't even think we can conceive of what a post-COVID world is right now. Because as you see it, it's expanding everywhere. In France and Germany, they're locking down more. In England, they're opening up. The United States is all over the map. We need to have a comprehensive strategy, even before we start talking about vaccines, these messenger RNA. And the central thing that the world has to do is what we've been preaching from day one and what Miles has been preaching. We have to get to the bottom of what happened in the Wuhan lab. And the Chinese Communist Party has to open up and allow the world scientists to get into the Wuhan lab, see what the biological weapons program was like, and so only then can we start to come to some decisions. And as long as the CCP continues to hold back what's in that lab, the biggest victims are the Chinese people, the Chinese nation, right, and then the rest of mankind. So I still think we still focus on getting to the bottom of the Wuhan lab.
Yeah, I would reiterate that, if I may. This is the CCP virus. It did come from the Wuhan lab. The Wuhan lab is a bioweapons lab. And regrettably, Dr. Anthony Fauci here in the United States played a key role funding that research. And he needs to be held accountable along with the CCP. To get to a post-COVID world, I think that I don't think we get quite there. The way we get to it is through herd immunity, and the big thing missing now in the equation is therapeutics, treating the virus. Older people, people with comorbidities should get the vaccine, but everybody else who is not at big risk from the vaccine needs to simply be able to get hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, zinc, a whole wide range of therapeutics. And the antibodies you get from having the virus are 20 times stronger than that from the vaccine. We can get to a world where the human species adapts through the use of these strong therapeutics. But unfortunately, Dr. Fauci and the Biden regime, the illegitimate Biden regime, are preventing the use of these therapeutics and killing people.
One last thing, and I want to add this. I think Dr. Tony Fauci and NIH in Washington, D.C. not simply owe an explanation to the American people. I think even more, they owe an explanation to Lao Beijing and to the Chinese people of exactly what they financed with the PLA and with the CCP in Wuhan behind everybody's back. And I think Fauci needs to go to Wuhan, and I think he needs to address the people of China and to explain exactly what he did and to beg forgiveness for the Chinese people.
He needs to prostrate himself on his knees and beg forgiveness.
100%.
Next question.
We hope he made some news there.
I'm one of the interpreters of this translation. We have been interpreting war room for over 1 year, and I have a co-worker, colleague, who is a very beautiful lady, and she is the greatest fan of this Navarro. So when you hear every time the war, it just oh, here comes the Peter Navarro.
Is she also blind?
Oh.
So here comes my question. We have been told by Miles Guo with a lot of details of analysis and exposure that the CCP regime, the economy has been resisting all kinds of problems. Financial section, and also the real estate, nothing else. So we have been known through all these years of all kinds of crisis accumulation, resistance regime. The economy definitely goes down. But with recently the president shut down on the big techs and those overseas listed companies, the situation must have been exacerbated. So how do you take the total collapse of the CCP regime's economy? Thank you.
You make a very important point. Right now, the Chinese real estate market is the bubble of all bubbles, and it threatens the collapse of the Chinese economy. The thing we have to do here in the United States is stop the flow of American capital to China through our pension funds. This is something I tried to do in the White House, but I'm sitting here in New York City, a few miles from Wall Street, and there's Americans like Steve Schwartzman and Larry Fink, John Thornton, and others, Ray Dalio, who embarrassed himself today on TV. These are the people who are pressuring Washington, D.C. to keep that flow of money from our pension funds to prop up the CCP. We need to take down the CCP. In order to take down the CCP, we need to stop the flow of that American capital to fuel these bubbles and the transnational criminal organization, which is buying real estate here with the deplorables of America and the Lao Beijing of China. It just has to stop.
But I just want to add to that, and this equivalent of what Fauci needs to apologize to the Chinese people. The Wall Street tycoons, and I address this to every Lao Beijing and every citizen of China that's getting wiped out now of their savings in these fraudulent real estate companies. Those companies are propped up not just by the CCP, they're propped up by Wall Street. And every penny that Dalio and Schwartzman and Fink and these guys have used American pension monies to put in back of these phony real estate companies and sucked in, the real victims here are the Chinese people. The hardworking Chinese people make almost no money and save all their money, and they put it in these companies for this thing. They've been wiped out. They've been financially destroyed, and part of the financial destruction is the elites in the United States have supported the criminal organization and look to take as much money as possible. I think that they have a fiduciary responsibility to pay back every penny they've taken out of any of these companies and to give that in some sort of restitution to the Chinese investors, to the little guy in China, the Lao Beijing and the little Chinese investors that are being wiped out. It's unacceptable. That is not what capitalism is about. That is crony capitalism. It's basically theft. And until we hold the elites here in America that have foisted this onto the Chinese people, we're not going to make any progress.
Thank you very much. And all the kleptocrats of CCP regime, just listen. Mr. Bannon has delivered the conviction. Back to you, Nana.
Rachel, I think it's my, yeah, thank you. So So thank you for Mr. Bannon always speak for the Chinese people who cannot speak Cook Islands. But my question this time is for Mr. Jason Miller. So first of all, thank you so much for everything you've done and your team have done for GETTR. We've witnessed a miracle and a fantastic growth in the first several months. So thank you so much. So I wanted to ask you about, first of all, I wanted to get a sense of what you see the advantages and opportunities that GETTR has in compared to Twitter. How do we compete with Twitter?
Absolutely, and Rachel, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you and so many others right now. I'd split out in a couple things and say that at the big level, the advantage that we have is something that Twitter will never be able to duplicate, and that's excitement. And the most powerful force in the world is an idea. Once you create an idea within people, once you give them the ability for self-expression and freedom of speech, that takes hold, and you can't remove that. There is no excitement with Twitter, quite frankly, any of the other social media platforms such as Facebook or anything else. And so we believe that our value proposition, our belief in free speech, but also opposing cancel culture is uniting people all over the world. And so for as much as the globalist elites in the media will try to say that populists in their respective countries is some kind of bad idea, that people in the US shouldn't be pro-US or people in Brazil shouldn't be pro-Brazil. I've actually interacted with people on social media. I interact with people from different countries via social media on GETTR more in the past 2 months than I have in the past 12 years, for example. Very excited to announce that we'll have a translation feature that will be coming very soon, and probably within the next, say within the next 3-4 days, which means within the next week or two, we will have it. Sorry, it's Joe Wong, our glorious Chief Technology Officer is here. That's a joke for my friend Joe. But no, the engineers all over the world are working so hard on this, and I'm really appreciative for their work. And part of the reason why I'm excited about this is because then it goes much more beyond, say, interacting with people from Europe or Brazil, be able to start interacting with the free people of China who want to live without fear of persecution and be able to have self-expression. When we talk technical details of what's different with GETTR than, say, Twitter, Facebook, longer posts, up to 777 characters, longer videos, up to 3 minutes for news creators and influencers, upwards of 10-minute videos that we can allow for. Some really cool additional features that will be coming, in addition to live streaming, which will be coming next month. So we're excited about the growth and development on that. And I think in a way that Twitter hasn't had sharper pictures, sharper images. But again, going back to the fact that you will never be deplatformed or censored for your political opinions on GETTR. And this is something that I think people can, regardless of what country you're from, regardless of what the free speech rights that the government might tell you that you have, on GETTR, you're always going to be able to express yourself freely and openly.
Hey, let me say this. GETTR is the Twitter killer. This is what we have to do. GETTR is the Twitter killer. And why do we have to kill Twitter? This is the easy sell here. Twitter wants to silence you. If you think, I mean, look, the Chinese Communist Party, Mao Zedong, going back to the communist threat, you have like all bad thoughts, right? It's like they define what the bad thoughts are. No. Free speech here in America, Twitter took that away from the American people, from the international users who use it. GETTR is the Twitter killer, full stop. That's free speech. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much for both of your answers. The way I understand it, I think I'm tired of the old world, and Twitter is everything about it. They label you and give you racism, your ageism, but they're a border. You're from Brazil, you're from China. But in the GETTR world, I think it's united. People, first time I felt like there's no border. I can really be free and not fear of consequences. So I think that's the excitement about. It's all about future. So I have another question for you, Mr. Miller. It's all about GETTR as well. So I would like you to share with us about what some of the things that you heard from users about their user experience. I'm sure you're closely monitoring all those information. If you can share with us what you have received.
Absolutely, and I usually spend probably about an hour every evening just going through comments that I personally receive. I think that's important for a CEO, someone who's leading a team and a platform, to be very dialed in and connected with the users. And so that's why I take great pride in that. I think ever since we've added our notifications feature, then I think the interaction with comments and responses has come together quite a bit. Some of the things I would expect, people are asking for additional features to come out that I would have thought of. Some, I did not know that dark mode, for example, that there were fans all over the world of dark mode, and that they're like violently attached to their dark mode, and they get mad that we didn't have dark mode. We have it now. Just so everyone's clear, but it's, look, we do listen to the users of the platform. We take the feedback, we take it serious. And I think also too that there's a sense of truth telling. I think with GETTR that people are expressing, and they're saying, you know what, we can't tell the truth on Twitter, we can't tell the truth on Facebook, or we can't tell the truth in this country without people coming after us. And so that's something that I've heard quite a bit that people have said, and it's so great to have people from around the world that are expressing similar ideals.
Look, and I think you can see the manifestation of what Jason's saying comes from the engagement. I mean, look at the engagement on GETTR versus engagement anywhere else. I know so many people have come over this platform, and the first thing they're blown away is by how the GETTR community globally is so engaged, right? They get more reposts, they get more comments. So I think that the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is in the engagement. People are very engaged. Once they make the move to come to GETTR, they see a whole new broader community in the world talking to each other. I also think that you don't see the snarky hate as much, and I think that's very positive. It's very intense debate, which it should be, and I think that's going to take GETTR to the next level, and I think you see that engagement.
And I'd just add one point that I've started sharing a number of interviews, saying that when I wake up in the morning, actually look forward to opening up GETTR and to see what people are talking about and what's news and what's happening. Whereas when I would wake up and look at Twitter, like, it's negative, it's depressing. Everything is, just people who don't like their lives and want you to be miserable. Also, GETTR, there's a lot of excitement. And one of the things to paraphrase my old boss and all of our old bosses, saying we want to make social media fun again. And this isn't, sometimes you got to, look, we can convince people to come and visit the platform once, but if we don't make it fun, if we don't keep it fun, they're not going to keep coming back, and that continued user base is critical. Miles, I have a broadcast at this exact same time in the other studio, so I want to say thank you very much to everybody. It's been an honor to be with you, and I do have this broadcast, so I got to run.
Thank you,
Thank you.
You notice since Jason became a CEO, he's like fully booked all day long.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jason.
No, but I do want to go to one thing that Jason was saying. I think this is so powerful about GETTR is that the toxicity. And look, Jason Miller is a very tough guy. Miles Guo is a very tough guy. This guy's the toughest guy, and I'm pretty tough too. We can take a lot of hate and stuff like that, but there's a difference between people attacking and just toxicity. The power of GETTR, I think, is to provide a platform that people know they're not going to be canceled on, but they're playing to their better angels. They're positive, they're putting information out, they've got a platform, they know if they build their own community in that platform, their own user base, they're not going to be thrown out. And I think that's taken GETTR to the next level. And I think the key to GETTR is just get more people on, and this community's building, and it's building in a positive way, and you're seeing that through the engagement. And I know Peter, as he comes on, Peter's got a whole list of things that he's going to do with Jason. So remember, GETTR's only, 100 days old, or under 100 days old. If you compare the first 100 days of GETTR and the first 100 days of Twitter, there's no comparison. This thing is so much more powerful, and I think that it's the positive nature of it, the empowerment of it, and you see it through the engagement. So I think the sky's the limit with GETTR.
Wow.
Seeing like Xi Jinping being so aggressive lately with his position and action, take a really opposite role on China's economy, and seeing Miles being so, working hard and like up to like fellow fighters, when do you think that new president of China will actually take down
I think it's already taking down the CCP. You can see the erosion in the financial portion of China and the economy. And I think in a way, the authoritarian move of the dictator Xi Jinping now to consolidate power is an act of desperation as Miles Guo leads this new nation offshore from China and within China, more and more, particularly the Lao Beijing, become totally upset. This whole latest episode with, is it Evergrande?
Evergrande.
You see people absolutely incendiary angry about what's going on, and that frightens Xi Jinping. I don't think you would see that kind of authoritarianism unless he was fearful. So what we need to do here in America, Steve's role, my role, Pompeo's role, and others, is to put the pressure on. It's unfortunate that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. We're working on getting that back. But in the meantime, having the illegitimate Biden regime in bed with Xi Jinping is not helpful. So we got to keep the pressure on, and that's what we're going to do here.
I want to step back and just mention one thing about the official recognition of new federal state versus the takedown of the CCP. What the new federal state, the whistleblower movement, the Rule of Law Society and Foundation, the GETTR, G-Fashion, all this. What the world is seeing is a new China and the new Chinese. And they're seeing what the Chinese people can accomplish when they have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. And I think that's come about a lot through the new federal state and these other groups. That is so powerful. Our focus now, and I do believe the new federal state, if the CCP lasts long enough, will be recognized. And I think it'll be recognized in, after 2024. But our focus 100% is to present the new China and the new Chinese, right, every day. The only way the CCP gets taken down is by the Chinese people. People in the West can assist. We can help. But the Chinese people, Lao Beijing, have taken down. We're at a unique time in China's history of 10,000, 15,000 years, right? You finally have, in the diaspora of the Chinese people, hundreds of millions that have been enormously successful, right? Enormously successful. And that shows every day the lie of this regime. And the lie of the regime is the Chinese people on mainland China are the only people on earth that come from one of the most ancient and respected civilizations that do not have even a modicum of freedom. And so that is our mission. I think our mission is to focus on taking down this transnational criminal organization that has terrorized, victimized, and brutalized the Chinese nation and the Chinese people. If we do that, the new federal state will act as almost like a government in exile to present going forward what the new program is. And that's why, listen, I have the greatest respect for Miles, but I continue to say, that's why I think Miles is the George Washington of a new China, right? We're talking about a new China and new Chinese. Chinese have finally had freedom after millennia of history. They finally have freedom on the outside in the West, and you see how they prosper. You see how they contribute to society. You see how the family structure and the traditional values of the Chinese people are very powerful, right? And that is why it is so important for us to remain focused on our mission. And our mission is to take down the CCP, take down this transnational criminal organization.
Steve is absolutely right. Ultimately, it has to come from within China to take down the CCP. But, as we know, one of the most famous expressions in China, one spark can create a prairie fire. We need that prairie fire. It has to be within China. But this gentleman here is creating a few sparks.
Yes.
And we will keep creating sparks
yes.
and help that prairie fire along.
Our responsibility, and Peter and I take it very seriously, and other people associated with the Trump movement, we have a tremendous responsibility to the Chinese people, and that is to stop the Western elites in their
Yes.
partnership with this transnational organization that are making money off the victimization and brutalization of the Chinese people, and to hold them accountable, even to the point of reparations back to the Chinese people for the money they've stolen out of China that is rightly the earnings and the wealth of the Chinese people. This is all going to, we have the responsibility to hammer the elites every day, whether it's Steve Schwartzman or Ray Dalio or Fink or all these essential criminal class that have been in partnership and in business with the criminal organization of the Chinese Communist Party. And so that's our responsibility, and to assist New Federal State and others. But our focus should be the complete destruction of the Chinese Communist Party and our support for the new China and the new Chinese.
Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you, sir. I'm not a China George Washington. I just want to take down CCP, disappear, go to the mountain. I want 100 girlfriends, enjoy my life. You look at this, all the girls beautiful, you know, just new Chinese girls. But they, you know, all have husband, that's a problem. They're all married. So I'm a true color man. I'm not this CCP liar. Oh, I loyal to my wife. I loyal to my family, but they are, you know, after the camera, all the camera, they have the multi girlfriend. They are drink. They are stealing the money. They talk a lie. Everything's a lie. Everything's fake. Also economy. I told you today lunch.
Yes.
China realistic. Totally the valuation is 90 trillion, 95 trillion. Officially they say 65 trillion. Over the China GDP 4 times. This must be bankrupt. This is a lie. Bubble. Also, sir, you the book. You before the book. You talk already. China is after it's the world disaster economy. It's the damage to the world. You say that many years ago. You are in the Berkeley University. You see, CCP still we are, you know, we are big enemy. That's why all the Chinese love you. Stephen Bannon. Before no matter him. Before I know Stephen Bannon is a master. They know the global division economy about the CCP, everything. Then this is why I like Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo exactly know American all the trouble. Fundamental reason is from China CCP. That's evil. CCP is definitely they try to take down American economy, just steal money. Also they want to change America, you know, everything. That's why you as the American hero, and you are, you know, is Pompeo, and it's the Stephen Bannon is the global hero. You rescue the world. Not rescue America. Not. I know this. I'm from China. I don't need any money. I don't need, you know, I have before, you know, I have China, I have 1.3 million, you know, it's the big company. We have the 100 billion assets. They can face it. The one bill penalty my family trust is $13 billion cash they take. We don't need the money. We don't work with the money. But the American, this trouble is the Wall Street. They driven by profit. They only work with money. They sell America. Yes. Pension fund. 4 years ago, I told them, you know, Stephen Bannon and Kyle Bass, all the, you know, is the Soros, you know, what is this guy? What is this guy CEO? We together, I talked to the...
Scott Bessler.
Scott Bessler, yeah. I talked to CCP try, you know, this on the table, you know, corruption to American pension fund, the CEO.
Yes.
They take the money.
Yes.
They want to kill American older person. Yeah. Everything else, you liar, you crazy, you is a reaper guy, you liar guy, you rumor guy, you gossip. I don't care how talk to about me. I just care how can talk the truth, give the West the word. You are have the black time now, very big. You know, it's the black power from China CCP. Then 2019 December and 2020 January, I with Stephen Bannon together broadcast. I see. China is have the, you know, prepare the biological weapon and the chemical weapon, try to take down America. Right. Everything's happening now, right? That's sir. U.S. seriously, you don't understand. You really don't know. Him now, Stephen Bannon, always with me together. U.S. exactly Chinese, 1.4 billion people the hero. Every have a common something now. You are big help us, and Mike Pompeo big help us. Also President Trump, you last minute you make the Xinjiang genocide. That's big help China and the Chinese, and wake up all the global, the good people, just people. I really appreciate you.
We do, Miles, and following that up is that I would like to say at the 2 minutes into the Biden administration, 2 minutes after noon, high noon on the 20th, the Chinese Communist Party sanctioned Pompeo, Pottinger, Navarro, and Bannon.
Pottinger
Right?
also the China's hero.
And by the way, the only person not in the government at the time, given the honor of being sanctioned by the CCP, was Stephen K. Bannon. That's how dangerous this man is.
That's why they created
Yes.
the new federal state. So
We'll wear those sanctions like a
By
badge
the way,
of honor.
I do wear it as a badge of honor, but that's why I'm particularly incentivized to take down the CCP. I cannot ever return to China until they take them down.
Yeah,
And
I
as,
can
as
guarantee
Miles
you-
knows, I want to retire to Hong Kong.
I can guarantee you
Hyping
that
about it.
Steve and I are not planning any casino trips to Macau
no,
to visit
no.
Steve Bannon's
No.
establishment. That will not be happening.
You know, Stephen Bannon's girlfriend, you know, is a beautiful, beautiful lady. Beautiful ladies. You know, she always waiting Stephen Bannon when take down CCP. With me go to the Hong Kong Taiping
Oh, no,
Mountain.
you're right. Live as Taipan.
班农先生的女朋友非常非常的漂亮，非常的漂亮。他等待着班农能赢得干倒共产党的这一仗，跟我们一起去香港太平山。So Richard and Nana Jiang, you know, you are can ask more questions for the two gentlemen, please. Don't nervous. This we are family. We are brother. Okay, brother sisters. Don't be nervous. Peter Navarro as the Stephen K. Bannon. Even you say the real people. You know in person. This is very gentleman. Very is true color. You don't be nervous, please. Any question you can ask. Also about the girlfriend. Anything can ask. 问吧。没听声音，娜娜酱听不到声音。现在可以了。
U.S. government and the U.S. big tech, they would like to do that, and what's your suggestion for interconnecting the Chinese people with the world? Thank you.
We need Donald Trump back in the White House to do that. We were on the verge of tearing down the firewall. I actually worked on an executive order which would have sanctioned any American company that helped in any way maintaining the Chinese firewall. And as you probably know, it's criminal that American companies, Cisco, Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, these American companies are complicit in helping to build and maintain that firewall. Mark Zuckerberg himself praised the Chinese firewall, and he actually used, this is criminal on Zuckerberg's part, he actually hired Chinese Communist Party members who had a skill set in censoring the good people of China. Look, you don't, change requires people who have the will to make those changes. If we get Trump back in the White House sooner rather than later, then that's the kind of thing we could do. My view is that Twitter, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Cisco, these are American tech companies that need to be held accountable for the Great Firewall of China, which has created the greatest digital Orwellian prison in world history.
Your question also is that since we didn't move hard and fast enough to help stop this outrageous collusion, and that's what it is, collusion of American tech companies and oligarchs with the criminal organization, the CCP, to basically digitally imprison the Chinese people, Lao Beijing, right? Now we have a firewall in America. We have a firewall in America. We have a firewall here with the same tech oligarchs because the American political class fought Trump and fought Navarro, and the corporate interests in America wouldn't let us go after them to stop their enslavement of the Chinese people. And a lesson for the American people, if you do, that's why we're bound together. The Chinese people and Lao Baixing's freedom is inextricably linked to the freedom of the American people. Inextricably linked. We're partners in this. Because we didn't force the oligarchs to stop working with a criminal organization that enslaved the Chinese people, now we're partially enslaved. There's a firewall here in the United States. Donald Trump's not on Twitter. It's the reason GETTR even exists, because of the firewall. And that is the lesson for the world. The enslavement of the Chinese people is not just the Chinese people's problem, it's the world's problem. Because the whole world financial organization and corporate organization is partners with the enslavement. Remember, the slave labor of China drives the entire world economic system. They want the lower wages through the slave labor off the hard work of the Chinese people, and they take that value that's created, and the CCP skims some off the top for themselves and then distributes the rest of it to their partners. And it also keeps wages down for working people throughout the world. That's not a conspiracy. That's the way the system works. The reason we didn't take down the firewall is very simple. Wall Street and the corporations and the oligarchs in Silicon Valley didn't want it taken down and put enormous pressure on the Trump White House not to do it and not to have these executive orders signed. And in their enslavement, now the American people see how we're enslaved. That's the lesson. The lesson is the freedom of the Chinese people is the most important act of the first half of this century. And until the Chinese people are free, nobody's free. So it's in the self-interest of every person on earth to make sure they assist the Chinese people in taking down this transnational criminal organization.
Thank you, Mr. Bannon, and thank you, Mr. Monroe. Eric, do you have any questions you want to go?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Bannon and Mr. Monroe. It looks like that we are interrogating you, but you must have told us it's not criminal. At least as you say to us, it will not be. So my question is about Afghanistan. The problem about the debacle, behind the debacle in Afghanistan is everyone knows. But what happened in Afghanistan is really depressing and also pray for the 13 victim families of the United States and their hero soldiers. And also we saw $80 billion today, and also the $10 billion students are using the government there. But all these situations, Ms. Bannon, how would you walk us through the impact of Afghanistan incident on the China-American relations? Thank you.
What happened in Afghanistan is one of the most, if not the most important geopolitical thing that's happened in the first part of the century, and here's why. The control of the Eurasian landmass, right, which is central to become a hegemon or control the world, is what the Chinese Communist Party's trying to do, right? They don't care about the economics. They don't care about the wealth of the Chinese people. They're going to take that wealth and spread it throughout the rest of the world for control. And now, as a gangster regime, they've got other gangster partners: North Korea, Pakistan, the mullahs in Iran, Erdogan in Turkey, and Putin in Russia, and a terrorist superstate in Afghanistan, with 3 groups that American men and women in their 20s, our servicemen, 10,000, gave their lives to defeat: Taliban, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda, which we all defeated on the battlefield 10 years ago, and then crushed the caliphate. Trump crushed the caliphate and ISIS in 18 months, right? Which was bigger than physically, and Obama said it would take us a generation. Crushed it in 18 months. We defeated those on the battlefield, and now we're in a situation where illegitimate gangster regimes as criminals are now working as a global mafia, and the first order of business is to consolidate the Eurasian landmass. right? And turn essentially everybody into the same slave labor as the Chinese people. And the part of that is to the western flank is to come in on India, with now Burma, with the CCP in back of that, and to focus on the South China Sea and Taiwan. And this is why in this financial crisis, and that's what you have in China right now, a financial crisis that the little guy, the Lao Beijing, the honest, hardworking Chinese are going to be wiped out financially. In order to get the eye off the ball of people at the real estate company say, give me back my money, right? You've stolen my money. Instead of giving that, they're going to, and now I believe, and Global Times said it, they're going to start moving on Taiwan because they want to control those chips. So we're heading towards, as we've warned for years, the Chinese Communist Party is at war. It's at war with the Chinese people. It's at war with the West. Information and cyber war and an economic war. And now we are rapidly sliding to a kinetic war. And I believe with the fecklessness and haplessness of the Biden regime, the way they kowtow to the Chinese Communist Party, and the Chinese Communist Party couldn't be more rude and arrogant, right? In their public displays of complete disdain for this administration, for its weakness, because they're like wolves. They smell weakness, and this is a weak, afraid regime, not like Trump, that they know they won't stand up, and they know exactly like they abandoned the good people in Afghanistan, although we had to get out, we were going to get out, but instead of doing it in the proper way and keeping Bagram Air Base and making sure that our allies that work with us are taken care of, just to run in the night, right, like a coward. The CCP knows, and they're telling the Taiwan people, they didn't stand up for Hong Kong. They didn't stand up for Afghanistan. You think they're going to stand up for you? They're not. They're going to run. And once they take Taiwan with those chip design, the American economy is going to implode. And so we are heading on a path to war because of why? The weakness of the West, the timidity of the West, the cowardice of the West, who's had every opportunity to stand up to these guys, and they only understand force. They only understand smash mouth. And we still have the ability, technologically and financially, to crush them. And the reason we're not is we've been sold out by the City of London and Wall Street and the financial interests throughout the world and the global corporations that don't care about the slave labor of the Chinese people. They're in partnership with them. And we are rapidly heading to kinetic war in the South China Sea, Taiwan, and in the Kashmir and India. And who's going to die? Who's going to die? And there are people, a lot of people are going to die. You know who's going to die? Young Chinese are going to die, right? Young Chinese that have been taken up into the military, right, that have no stake in this fight at all. They're going to die because of this regime, this imperial regime in Beijing. There's going to be a lot of young Chinese that die on the battlefield. There's going to be a lot of young Indians that die on the battlefield. There's going to be a lot of Americans that die on the battlefield, right? We're going to have major casualties of young people, their lives thrown away. Why? Because we have criminal entities in Korea, in China, in Pakistan, in Persia, in Tehran, in Iran, in Turkey, and in Russia, and the West has been too weak to stand up to it. And the price we're going to pay is going to dwarf what was paid in World War II. It's going to dwarf what was paid in World War I because we haven't learned the lesson. Until you stand up to these criminals, they're going to act like a mafia acts, and they're going to continue to fight until they're destroyed. And that is why that is our mission.
I think this world either goes down to the disease, or to find a way out. We know that multiple products is being led by South China Sea, Great Bay Area, Pakistan, and the Belt and Road Initiative, Pakistan, friendship, and also the almost food. It's all about energy control, and we need to be ready. So either the world is going down to the bottom of the east, or we find a way out. I think take on CCP with the truth of the virus, with the truth of vaccination, or with the truth of community. in your state to offer. That is really good. Thank you.
So we talked about this on War Room Pandemic, Steve's show, quite extensively when the dictator Xi Jinping made his move on some tech companies, and we saw, I think it was $400 billion shaved in market cap from these firms, and that was money lost to these pension funds here in America. And Steve made a great point. I mean, it's hard enough to get back subnormal returns in a year. Let's say you've got a pension fund investing, and it knows it's got to earn a certain return, and so that it can pay out its retirees as it goes forward in time. And if it misses that mark, it's hard enough to get that back in the next year and the years following. But when you actually have a significant loss of capital, principal, you never get back. And so what it means, and the reason why Washington, D.C. is not acting like it should, it's a slow motion crisis with a very bad ending. So that we here in America are already facing, in many places, pension liability crises where the money will run out because these pension firms are underfunded. And by the way, this has all been exacerbated by world market conditions where we've had literally years of low interest, no interest rate environment where it's very difficult for these pension funds to perform. So what the Chinese Communist Party has done already and is continuing to do is to put American pension funds at extreme risk of default. And it should be this argument that should be made literally every day in Washington for basically preventing American pension funds from investing in the Chinese Communist Party, because that's what we're doing. The worst part of it is you've got U.S. military retirees having their pension funds forced to be invested in the Chinese Communist Party, and this has got to stop. But as Steve said, elections have consequences, but stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. So this is just one of the many things that are on a plate, and I think Steve might have a few words on this as well.
No, I 100% agree. It's one of the problems. It's one of the problems with allowing pension funds to basically finance the enslavement of the Chinese people, and it's obscene. And now, at a stroke of the pen, she can eliminate massive amount of pension fund money. But remember, it's got a commonality. She doesn't care. He doesn't care if he sends a pen to control the tech CEOs and it wipes out working class people's pensions in the United States. They don't care because they care less about the United States. Look, they don't care about the Chinese people. What's happening right now at Evergrande and other companies like that is an entire generation of Chinese who work very hard and make very little, but carve off because there's no social safety net, save 50 cents of every dollar, and want to, as a good household, a good citizen, put it to work and put it in a good company and get a return on it. They're not looking to be filthy rich off this, but just save it, put it away. That's your question.
Vaccine companies. Here's what's what I find interesting. I go back. I should mention I have this new book that's just come out, In Trump Time. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. And in that, I talk a lot about how back in February of 2020, we saw that the CCP virus was coming, that there was likely going to be a pandemic. Steve Bannon here in January of 2020 actually named a show called War Room Pandemic. This was 2 months before the World Health Organization.
That's because of Miles Guo. That's because of Miles Guo. Miles Guo, and we could not broadcast our natural China. We were watching Peter Navarro in the East Room with the signing the China deal. At the same time, the virus was breaking out.
And here's the point: when I was writing these memos to the White House task force, we thought about attacking this pandemic with a 5-vector attack strategy. One of them was the vaccine. We were hoping we could get one or more vaccines, but there were also other things in play, including the therapeutics. Here's the thing: most people who get the CCP virus have very low risk of death, and for them, they should not and do not need a vaccine. What they need, though, is early treatment use of therapeutics. And back in those memos in January and February 2020, we identified these therapeutics and the need to have them. And so what happened was, and I think this was because of Big Pharma, the big pharmaceutical companies making the vaccines, somehow the strategy morphed into a vaccine-only strategy. And the federal government actually began to suppress literally the use of therapeutics like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. They literally made it a crime for a physician to prescribe these drugs to help people. And if you take hydroxychloroquine, for example, it got a tremendously bad reputation because of the smear campaign on it. But if you administer that within the first 7 days, you're likely to survive just fine and everything's okay, build up strong antibodies. Now, why am I saying all this?
But the first big advocate of hydroxychloroquine is Miles Guo.
Miles Guo.
Miles Guo.
This stuff works. Now,
would have saved tens of millions of people.
Tens of millions of people. In fact, little story for you. I was the Defense Policy Act coordinator in the White House. I had 65 million tablets of hydroxychloroquine, and I was in the process of dispensing them around the United States of America when the FDA and Fauci came in and issued a directive that basically shut hydroxychloroquine down. Now, at the time, I didn't understand why, but as we go forward in time, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that the pharmaceutical companies, all they want is to sell the vaccine. So in order to sell the vaccine, they have to suppress the use of the therapeutics. And so I think this is the cycle we're in now. And if you go to different countries around the world, there's a lot of countries that now understand these therapeutics are important. But to your point, these vaccines, look, if you're elderly and or you have comorbidities, get vaccinated, okay? But the problem is these things have two qualities to them. They're what we call leaky and they're non-durable. Leaky means that even if you get vaccinated, you can still get the virus. We saw that with the Delta variant. That's not good. Non-durable means that they only last for 4 to 6 months. So you have to get so-called booster shots, but they're not even booster shots because by the original virus, Miles, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
Okay?
I agree.
It's like It's like if
Well,
you
he
give
said
it
that. Miles said there's
Yeah,
there's going to be 10,000 of these
Yeah.
set out.
Yeah.
Every time you think you've cured one, they're going to drop another one out there.
So,
Yeah.
so you're using a vaccine which is designed to defend you against a virus that no longer exists. The new mutation is a totally different thing. So the point is that the pharmaceutical companies are making a bunch of money on this. The Biden regime, and Fauci in particular, criminal, is basing his whole reputation and administration on the vaccine saving the world when we know already that it won't, and people are dying, and that's the tragedy of it all.
Listen, I realize the vaccine and working on vaccine, I've tried to do it. I don't believe we're going to make any real progress in putting this thing in back of us and whatever vaccines come in the future until we get to you can't until you get into the Wuhan lab and see exactly how this thing came
Wuhan
about.
bioweapons
The
lab. Let's be clear about that.
bioweapons lab.
Yeah.
Think about this for a second. This is how little the transnational criminal organization of the Chinese Communist Party cares about the Chinese people, who are their biggest victims. You know why? In a city of 14 million people, they put a P4, pathogen 4 laboratory that's also a bioweapons lab, which is more dangerous than having live nuclear weapons into the middle of a city. That's how little respect they have for the Chinese people. Nothing more than that. Until we get in there with an international consortium, and a big part of that should be Chinese that have left in the diaspora, that have left China, right, to go back with Japanese and Americans and Europeans and Australians and get to the bottom of exactly how it was created, what aspects it had of it, everything. We're not really ever going to get past this thing. And that's why I think you're seeing the mutations, and the scientists in the world don't know, and you can keep chasing this with these messenger RNA vaccines. And until you build up herd immunity, and in building up herd immunity, you're going to lose a lot of people. A lot of people are going to die in the process of getting natural herd immunity. We're not going to get to the bottom of this. And look, of all the criticism they give Miles Guo, right, in the media and everything like that, I'd say, hey, it was late December, and he was telling me in 19 there's a SARS thing coming out. I came up here to New York City to do our traditional annual broadcast for 3 days of Chinese New Year's, when Peter was actually kind of started that first day in the east wing of the thing with the huge signing ceremony. Li He led a whole delegation over there, and Miles was telling me, hey, there's not going to be a Chinese New Year's. And I say, why? He says, well, they've got a SARS plague coming out of Wuhan. They're about to shut down Hubei province, which is the size of France, and they're going to quarantine Wuhan, which is 40% bigger than New York City. We haven't gotten past that yet. And until we do that, there'll be incremental small pieces of progress, but more devastation. And the economic carnage we haven't even addressed with yet. The world keeps printing money, and that's all going to be devastation. Part of that, the unintended consequences for the regime, is the problem in Evergrande right now. Part of the supply chains in China are all completely busted. Why? Companies like Mitsubishi, companies like Samsung says, I can't deal with these guys anymore. This criminal organization can change anything. They're looking at the tech companies over there, they said, hey, they just go in and decapitate management. You can't deal with criminals because they can change the rules on you. And the unintended consequences of them allowing this bioweapon out on the Chinese people first is destroy the understructure and the power, the real natural power of the Chinese economy. And that's what they're suffering. And that implosion with all the world's debt and how this regime is going to try to save themselves with their criminal partners is going to lead us into a world war, of which people under 30 years old in China, in India, up in Kashmir, in the South China Sea, in Taiwan, in the United States of America are all going to die violent deaths for no reason than we did not stand up to a bunch of criminals and allowed people in the West to make money. I want to be brutally frank of what this is about. That's what it's about. And history is going to judge all of us, on what we did at this time to stop that.
I could witness. This time I see the Stephen Bannon with me together every day, 3-4 times I call you, talk about this. the COVID, if you intelligent get the information, you call back, ask about what is happening, what is going on in China land. So you is a big hero in America. You help America. You first the person, governor person tell high drugs can help the people.
Yes.
That's I know. I'm a good witness. I see the all the 2020, January, February with you phone call multi-time.
Yes. That's 65 million. You had it one time.
Yeah, let me-
65 million
Let me do
hydroxy,
the
yes.
math for
Yes,
you, okay?
yes.
It's a $12 drug, okay, for a full 7-day treatment. It's about 14 to 15 tablets. This stuff's like 50 cents a piece, right? So 65 million tablets would have been able to treat 4 million infected Americans in early treatment use. And if you assume up to a 70%
Genocide.
reduction in mortality rate, which what the science teaches us right now,
Yes.
that's 20 to 40 to 50,000 people who are
Unbelievable.
dead right now because of Tony friggin' Fauci.
Not only that.
That's as many as we lost in Vietnam, by the way. In 10 years of war in
That is
Vietnam,
blood
50,000.
on their hands. And this building here used to be where the Cowards News Network was,
Yeah.
CNN, right?
CNN here.
And
Fox.
CNN
Cowards.
was a willing accomplice with Fauci in suppressing the use of
Yes.
hydroxychloroquine. They spread what I call in the In Trump Time book that's coming out, hydroxyhysteria. They fomented this hydroxyhysteria. I mean, it's like, if you look back at it now, they said, oh, people were going to die if you use hydroxychloroquine. Nobody's died. And there's plenty of
Yes.
people using hydroxychloroquine. How many people have died who haven't used it? Okay? It's over 4 million people worldwide, over 600,000 Americans. And who knows how many people died in communist China because the government ain't talking.
More than 10 million, I believe.
Yes.
But I don't believe also American 600,000 people. I don't believe.
Oh, you mean money more?
I think more.
Oh, yes, sir. But just like China. They
Yeah.
said, but 3,000 have died in China.
Yeah. Now the COVID, the vaccine is more the worst than the COVID. The vaccine can kill many of the people. 6 months, 10 months, you can see all the street, Thailand driving the aircraft, driving the car, immediately by accident die because of COVID, vaccine. That's there's a murder.
The most dangerous part of the vaccine for the world, and we've done some really good work with Doc Malone on Steve's show. Doc Malone was the guy who actually invented the technology to create the vaccine, okay? And the problem is when you do a vaccine for the CCP virus, you basically use spike protein, right? And it's a custom tailored vaccine that only deals with a portion of the overall disease. And this policy of universal vaccination, if you universally vaccinate everybody, what we know from virology is that there will be a mutation away from that universal vaccination, and thereby the danger is creating a super virus. A super virus.
The virus, this is every one shot,
Yeah.
40 trillion piece inside.
Yeah.
Who can tell you what is the
Right.
inside 40
Right.
trillion pieces
Right.
put in your DNA?
Yeah, yeah.
I ask everybody, could you tell me where from the COVID? You don't know where from the COVID?
Yeah.
You how can make the anti,
That's the
the
problem.
vaccine?
I want to know how this thing got started. This gets to
Yeah.
When you
Barry's
want you
question.
take a vaccine,
And
you
you're a
take a
real
responsibility. Don't take a responsibility. You want to take a vaccine,
Yeah.
you want the people to take a full responsibility. That's crazy. That's why I ask all the people, yesterday, Middle East, one prince and one princess, they call me, Uncle Miles, I love you. I say, do you take a vaccine? Oh, I take a 5 shot. 5 shot. Everybody take 5. I'm shocked. Why? Because I'm rich. I can take a 5 shot. I want to try 6 shot. 1 shot, 40 trillion piece. I say, you 5 shot,
Yes.
it's 200 trillion piece put in your body. I say, you waiting next year, burned you go to cemetery,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
crazy.
Dangerous We very dangerous path we're on. Very dangerous.
That's sir. You know,
Very dangerous.
you as many years ago talked to CCP is the globally is the threatens terrorism. You talk this.
You know this. In 2006, I wrote The Coming China Wars.
Yes, I see.
In that book, I predicted. I predicted that there would be a pandemic created by China.
Yep.
I predicted that in 2006. I talk about that in my book,
Yeah.
In Trump Time. It's why I was sitting in the meeting in January 15, 2020, with the president, and knowing what you had told Steve and everything like that, I'm like very, very fearful about what's about to happen. And sure enough,
that
it happened.
everything-
I just want to make sure.
What is the broken name? It's
But
the new book.
in Trump time, my journal of the plague year.
Yes.
We should get the
兄弟姐
cover.
妹们啊，
We
快
got
说了。
to. We want all Chinese to own this book and see what really happened.
大家要记住啊，这个
And
我们的
Miles, you were in the book.
Yeah, but
I'm in the book.
Miles is in the
I
book.
hope it's a very, very
In a
good
very
picture.
favorable way. Yes.
Peter 纳瓦罗先生I will talk you book. 兄弟姐妹们，我们的 Peter 纳瓦罗先生刚刚有一个新的书，哎，你们可以找到新的书的名字吗？可以放出来。我希望我们的战友们都去买我们的 Peter 纳瓦罗的书。What is the name in English?
In Trump time.
In Trump time， 在川普的时间里啊 ，In Trump time。
And what it means is we had a culture in the White House where in Trump time means fast
Yeah,
and
yeah.
efficient.
Yeah.
Okay, if we were to
Yeah.
do something
Really
in
efficient.
Trump
Yeah.
time, where
Yeah.
we talk about
I agree.
Yeah.
Jason Miller saying we do it in 3 days, that would be in Trump time. If,
Yeah.
if it takes 6 days
Yeah.
instead, that's not
Yes.
in Trump time. So we do things in Trump time.
Let-
In Trump
let-
time, I like it.
In Trump time,
Efficient.
大家要去买啊 ，We want to buy。
my journal of the plague year by Dr. Peter Navarro. It's amazing. I just want to say one thing in summary though, but about that meeting and about the way the books. There's the cover right there. Thank you.
Oh, here.
So beautiful. Look at that.
Oh, so good.
Isn't that great?
I love the picture.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Please order it.
And Miles is in chapter 1.
Yeah, Miles has got a.
You look
Isn't
at
that power? Isn't that
I
power?
like it. That's real American man.
Exactly.
Real American man. That's why you are a real man. American man is in the old global now. It's justice. Big boss. You look now. It's too many weird man. It's no fight back. CCP won't kill your family.
Yes.
CCP steal your job. CCP steal your money. Why you don't fight back? You kowtow with CCP for small money. You lose the future. You lose your family. You are only true color American real man. I like the book. I like. 大家都要去买这个书。哇，还 nobody on the market they see no on the market the book.
No, you go to Amazon.
Amazon.
Go to
Amazon.
Amazon.
在亚马逊买啊
Go to Amazon right now.
Amazon. Okay. We want to translate to Chinese, Japanese. 8.9 million now. 8.9.
We will get this book. with the-
8.9 is this is outside, not
Th-
inside.
There's Trump
not-
time right there. We will get the book translated into Mandarin and into Cantonese
100%.
and into Japanese quickly.
So, sir, last question, and then we are finished today the broadcast. I really honor you coming. I really honor it's
Honor to be
massive.
here.
Honor to be here.
I'm really honored.
Yes.
Now everybody know you representative,
George
ambassador.
Washington.
No,
George
no,
Washington
no,
of the Chinese
no.
people.
I'm not.
China.
I'm just small guys.
No.
This is my master.
No.
No, this is my master brothers. So you are you are ambassador to New Federal State.
Yes.
I want the New Federal State, make it real happen. Also, you are representative ambassador the GETTR.
Yes.
You just kill this is the killer to this the Twitter.
Twitter killer.
Twitter killer. So my master. So also Jason Miller. I hope soon we can see Mike Pompeo, Passenger, we all together. That's the
Yeah,
real American
yes.
man. We need to fight back. We want to fight. You don't know is how many Chinese love you. Really appreciate it.
We love the
You
Chinese.
look at the people. China's mainland. No, this is the midnight. 3-4 o'clock. China is there's no sleep waiting here. And many people, here. That's outside nearly 9 million. I think inside more than 70, maybe more than 100 million
Well,
people
we
watch.
love the Chinese people.
That's big. That's big, sir. In America, no, everybody work for money. We are New Federal State working for justice. We want to take down the CCP. we seriously want to take down CCP. Okay, so everybody, now we really appreciate we team today's good job. This job is so good. Same the Afghans the level. we broadcast the team. Same the Afghans level. You do great job. But we are, we are is only for the world to know the truth. It's technically no important. So really appreciate. Where's Rachel? Where's the Nana Jiang Erica? 我们现在 I really like Richard, Nana Jiang and Erica ask good questions, beautiful. Last minute, you can ask one question, everybody, simple question, then we finish today, this live. Thank you. Please.
If I may, last week, one United States officially recognized new federal state of China. Thank you.
I think it definitely would have to be sometime after 2024 when Trump takes the White House back. I think the earliest it would be, because the Biden administration will never do that. Even when we take back the House in 22, and we'll take back the House, it'll be after 2024. But you know what? Let's take down the CCP before then and have the new federal state
Let's
back.
get Trump back in the White House before 2024. They stole it.
Okay, good. I like this.
This man is working on forensic audits, decertification of election in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan,
off the Navarro
Wisconsin, and we can't wait till 2024.
I agree.
My judgment. This
I agree.
country is falling apart.
I agree. That man watches the war room.
Hopefully in the future we will have time to have you back, and I will look forward to maybe interviewing some more. Thank you so much for answering today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have one question. So we all know that we just had a settlement with SEC, GTV, and it means a lot because GTV is trying a lot to take us down, so we can lose maybe, they hope to lose our license, so we can never have any projects in the States, but we won't because we made a settlement. So what is your take on that? Thank you.
I think it shows that no matter what the CCP does, it's impossible to take down this movement. The whistleblower movement, the new federal state, the rule of law, GTV and G News. GTV and G News are 5 times bigger than a year ago. Here's what I think is very sad, is because of the CCP putting some people involved in that caused a lot of ruckus. The Chinese people are not going to get a chance to participate, at least initially, in the great growth of G News and GTV. And remember, these news operations are the voice of a free China, the new China and the new Chinese. And so hopefully that'll all get worked out over time, because we want to make sure that the Chinese people prosper, right, and have the opportunity to prosper. So, I think everybody associates glad it's in back of us, but to me, it's still a shame that the CCP was able to get involved in this thing on the margins and cause a lot of ruckus. And so, going forward, I think we got to be very careful how they're going to try to take down everything, including any opportunity for the Chinese people to get any prosperity. That's their number one thing. Was it the 5 olds? Keep them too hungry, too hard at work, no free time on their hands, no ability to have any type of wealth creation. Treat them like slaves. And that just shows you the Chinese Communist Party's mentality. So hopefully we're working through that.
Finally, last night I have the big conference call with the GTV investor from the Europe. They see before we are move out, it's the chairman, is the Ban. Now we need the Ban back maybe. I said, yes, that's a good suggestion. Ban is GTV, the chairman, the founder, we don't forget. So the too much political, is the reason, and we move the chairman out, but maybe we move back. Now, this is the miracle. Nobody believes we can start with SEC.
Yeah.
It's CCP use the word fry, legally,
Lawfare.
Lawfare is
Yeah.
against us.
Yeah.
But the SEC finally is do good job.
Yeah.
They don't penalty with GTV,
Yes.
don't Saraka, they just settle, give
Yes,
money.
give the money back.
30 million, not
Which
big
rate,
money,
yeah.
okay? But it's very important. We are investor, 100% nearly. Only 10 people take back money.
Yeah.
99% people still don't want to invest with
Yes.
us. That's unbelievable. This is my big honor. Another way today we have the phone call conference. Is the GTV, is the valuation is $60 billion. Before $2 billion. So the 1 year we go to,
Yeah.
30 times growth.
Yeah.
Another way is very important is the attorney, James, the lady, and my husband, James. Nobody believes James can settle, it's don't investigation
Yeah.
us. Yesterday, as a lady, make this,
Yeah.
no penalty, zero. I want to make the letter say the attorney, James. The lady is so great. It's also same as we are not white people. This is the black people. I'm Asian, yellow people. This justice, I really appreciate. That's a big honor. Never happened in the Manhattan.
Yes. But I do agree with Miles. I think it's time now to bring the black hand of Bannon back to the table. Thank you guys very much. It's
Thank
such
you,
an honor.
thank you. 放音乐，咱们就结束了，放音乐了。谢谢了 Richard， 谢谢大家 Eric，Thank you everybody, thank you team.
Take down the CCP.
Take down the CCP.
Take down the CCP. Take down the CCP. Take down the CCP.
Take down the CCP. 好，我们今天就直播到此，谢谢兄弟姐妹们，谢谢。